As a music producer myself, one of the most challenging things is finding good quality vocals. And in this video, I'm going to teach you how to make high quality vocals without relying on overused splice samples and without needing a real vocalist. So check out a demo I made for this tutorial, and then we'll jump into it.
And if you like to go fast, then you can drive me home. Put your foot on the gas. I got no time to go slow. If you like to go fast, then I'm the one you should know.
The demo is pretty raw, but you can hear that the vocal sits well, it's cool, it's interesting, and this is just the beginning. So to make your own vocals from scratch, we will need an app called Ace Studio. So it is technically a DAW. It has all the basic features like working with audio, MIDI notes and stuff like that. So with Ace Studio, you can create vocals from scratch. You can literally draw the notes, put the lyrics, use different articulations, vibrato, modulation, all this good stuff. So how I created this vocal, it was from Splice. So I took this original loop as inspiration, and it's really cool because Ace Studio can take the audio and convert it into MIDI with all the articulation, vibrato, put the right notes and stuff like that. So check out the original one.
And if you like to go fast, then you can drive me home. Put your foot on the gas. I got no time to go slow.
And this is what I did. So I converted it to MIDI.
And if you like to go fast, then you can drive me home.
And you can even listen to the articulation, how we can manipulate the vocal. We'll jump into that soon.
Put your foot on the gas. I got no time to go slow. If you like to go fast.
So it is very, very realistic. And if you spend time on fine-tuning the notes, the articulation, all that stuff, you can get really, really good sounding vocals. So let's start with the first thing, which is going to be the piano roll. It is a pretty default piano roll, anything that you would expect from any DAW. So you can draw the notes like this, right? And then you can put lyrics, the words, onto the notes. I'm not going to dive too deep into that because that's basic, but let's have a look at the at my vocal, what we have. So one of the important things that I noticed while working with the vocal, something that took me like a few minutes to to learn, is when you have multiple words, you need to cut the notes. So like the vocal goes, and if you like to, then you want to cut the notes like this, right? You can see we can cut it, and then we can put different lyrics onto the notes. So let's solo this. Let's do it with one more time from the beginning.
And if you like to go fast.
So let's talk about the basic features and something that I really, really like about the Ace Studio. So you can do modulation. So as you can see here, we can increase it. That's vibrato, right, of the vocal. And it is pretty realistic. Like, I was surprised. So let's see here.
If you like to go fast.
So just don't make it too much. If you fine tune it, then we can do like this. And then, yeah, you just go through the notes where you need the vibrato. And on some of the notes, if you have a look, for example here, right? So we can reduce that and check it out how that's going to sound, right? Let's go from here.
And if you like to go, then you can drive me home.
And then with modulation, with vibrato, you can fine tune this. So for example, we can reduce this. We can reduce these sections a little bit. Sometimes it's not that much that you will get by default. So you can use a pitch modulation. So you can use a pitch brush, right? So you can then fine tune this. But Ace Studio is pretty good at creating the default pitch here. So yeah, here you just have to play, see what hear what sounds good with your track, but it's a pretty cool thing. Let me just draw. It may sound a little bit artificial, but for example, if we do like this, you can create the vocal glides here as well. And then by drawing this modulation, then you can work, I think, with vibrato. It's kind of combined, right? So we can do it flat. We can really do like this. So check it out. Pretty realistic. And then we can check out the, right? You can see here, there, and that's pretty cool. Like, you can really fine tune the vocal how much you want. And then let me show you one more vibrato. Let's say you like here. Yeah, so we can do here. If you listen, it sounds pretty cool. And then we can increase the amplitude, something like this. Let's play from this section.
I got no time to go.
It's good, it's good, okay? So those are the basic controls for the notes, but that's not everything. There's way more to this. For example, you can create breaths in between here, right? So if we can do like this, and in between the notes, I think it generates them automatically, but if you want to add more breaths, I think you can do that as well. So check it out and listen to the breaths. They're also pretty realistic. Check it out.
And if you like to go fast, then you can drive me home. Put your foot on the gas.
Gives you like a pretty realistic breath. Okay, so those are the additional controls. Now let's go to the ear. To be honest, I haven't really played with all the parameters, but you can just do like, we have the brush, we have the, yeah, we can just draw it like this. Because if you push it too much, it might be might be a little bit too much. So let's do the ear thing and see how that impacts the.
And if you can drive me home.
And then we can increase the ear here. But usually the parameters that affects the most, I'm sorry, like I don't know every single term like for falsetto. I'm not a vocalist, but we want to turn it down because it makes the vocal like a bit too quiet. So I didn't really like it. And then we can fine tune the rest with the tension and with the energy. I'm going to show you how this sounds.
Put your foot on the gas.
So we reduce the falsetto, and then there's more accentuation on those notes. I really like this section. It's just so cool, the way that it transitions from one note here, creating those glides.
If you like to go fast.
Right, this is pretty cool. So the way that we can fine tune this is actually pretty interesting. So if we go here, you can see I push the tension and I push the energy. So if we reduce the energy, then you can manipulate the vocal and, for example, put an accent on the last word like this. And then just depending on where you want to accentuate the vocal, you can, in a simple way, in a simple manner, you can fine tune this easily. Check out here. Sometimes, yes, it's not going to sound realistic, but because it is AI, so you need to check if that sounds good with your tracks. So we can increase a little bit here, maybe do this. And then what if we push the tension a little bit more like this, right? And just by combining different parameters, maybe we can do the ear. I'm not quite sure if it's going to sound like very realistic, but let's test.
If you like to go fast.
Okay, you can push the vocal pretty hard, so let's reduce that. And that's just a little bit too much. So this is the way how you can manipulate your vocals. So you can create interesting articulation. So the energy, let's reduce that a little bit. And then I'll show you how we can take some audio and turn that into MIDI. Right, you can see it sounds really good. And then the rest is just like the rest.
So put a hand on a touch, babe, never let you crash if you like a go.
Yeah, and you can see here I cut the notes because I was a little bit confused with that. But once you cut the notes with the words, it sounds really, really cool. So it can rap, but I noticed that this software is better for like pop, melodic. With the rapping, like tech house, it might not be the best thing, but for this kind of style, it's really cool. So that's pretty much it for the basic controls. As you can see, it's not a lot. The best thing is you just start tweaking that. You just start playing with every parameter. This is how I learn new software. This is how I learn new tools. So let's now have a look at how you can take audio. So we can put, let's say, a vocalist, voices, okay, R&B. Let's take this one, for example, right? And then we can hold Alt. Okay, English, yeah. Vocal to MIDI and lyrics, okay? Use the pitch line from the original, right? You can see it's really easy. So we are gonna be processing this. This is the default one. I'm not even touching it. So let's just see how accurate it is.
And if you like to go fast, then you can drive me home. Put you full on a gas.
So it's pretty impressive in terms of the pitch. Yes, you do have to fine-tune the individual notes because sometimes the articulation is not is not very on point. It's going to be some like artifacts, but you can very easily fix that. So just listen to how the pitch of the vocal is going.
Put you full on a gas. I got no time to go. So if you like to go fast.
This is impressive, right? Just listen to this one.
If you like to go fast.
It is just copying it, right? And the one that I did, it is a little bit different.
If you love to go fast, then you can drive me home.
I just spent a little bit more time. So with this software, the most important thing is you will get what you put in, right? So depending on the effort, depending on how much you fine tune and how much you play with the vocal that you have, you can either get a okay output or you can get a really, really good output. And then from here, like we can layer the vocals. I didn't do that yet, but if you look at the amount of this stuff that we have here, samples, templates, we even have some of the vocal effects here, and A-Studio is also available as a VST for Ableton, so you can do the same thing inside Ableton. So that's my review of A-Studio, and I think it can be very, very useful. So whether you want to create a cool demo and then send to your vocalist, or if you just want to use A-Studio for producing a full track, because if you spend time and if you don't like searching for vocals, if you don't like using Splice, because let's be honest, it's very overused, everyone uses Splice, you can maybe take some inspiration from Splice. If you're good at writing lyrics, at recording vocals, then I think it is a no-brainer. So if you're interested in checking out A-Studio, you can use my link. It's going to be in the comments below. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Ciao.